everyone's speeds to match. An important point: although scooters don't go that fast, they go faster than you can swim, and they coast with more force due to the additional weight. So be cautious to allow extra distance for stopping and maneuvering. A common problem among novice scooter pilots is entanglement. Although this sometimes happens with aquatic plants, line, or something else in the environment, more commonly it's your alternate second stage, SPG, or BCD strap. In the worst case, this can damage your gear and the DPV, and at the very least, you have to stop and deal with it. The alternate air source is particularly prone to this, so use a secure attachment device. Alternates sometimes free flow while scootering, so a good choice is an adjustable second stage that you can set to prevent this. It's very important to properly secure your gear so it doesn't dangle, and so it doesn't pull free easily due to water drag as you cruise. Confirm that everything's close and streamlined during your pre-dive check, and this is the best way to dive even when you're not scootering. Sand, rocks, and other loose debris can suck through the propeller, so be careful not to scooter too close to the bottom. Likewise, be careful piloting around kelp, vegetation, or anything else that can get pulled into the prop. DPVs are underwater motor vehicles, so like with all motor vehicles, using one carries some responsibilities to plan for regarding your interactions with others and the environment. Be cautious around fragile aquatic life like coral, leaving ample distance to be sure you don't damage it by bumping into it or dragging over it. Keep your body level and fins pointed, paying attention to the tips. If you can't cruise with your fins relatively straight, you need to adjust your buoyancy, trim, or both. Also, be cautious about the prop wash, which can stir up silt. Silt can damage coral and other organisms by settling on it. Stay well above the bottom. Be courteous of other divers. DPVs can be distracting to some people, so give other divers their space. Now let's look at handling some DPV problems. The most obvious one is having your scooter fail on you, which can happen for a variety of reasons, ranging from flooding to draining the batteries. Normally, you should still be within swimming distance of your exit point, so usually you just tow your DPV back. If it flooded, a small lift bag may help make it neutral. Some DPV divers carry one in their BCD pockets just in case, and a few scooters have inflatable devices for this. Another option is to ride tandem with your buddy, although if your battery died, its battery may be near dying too. Tandem riding is slower and drains the battery faster, but this way, neither of you have as far to swim if you don't make it all the way back. If you're the passenger, stay squarely behind the pilot to minimize drag. If it's not flooded, ideally attach your DPV using a clip on its nose so that it rides smoothly behind you or at your side. Although not likely if you've planned your dive appropriately, in extreme situations such as fighting a current or having too long of a swim, you may have to abandon your DPV for your safety. Attaching a marker buoy, time allowing, may make recovery later more likely, so some DPV divers carry marker buoys just in case. The opposite of a dead scooter is a runaway. This usually happens when the trigger jams or fails. Your first option is to put the nose into the sand or against some other insensitive bottom. On many DPVs, you can then disengage the trigger to stop it. Failing that, assuming you have ample air and no stop time, a simple option is to let it run until the battery drains. However, that may take too long, especially if the runaway happens with fresh batteries. Your next option is to jam the prop with something. A glove is ideal, though a large dive knife will work. Don't use vital gear, obviously. This will usually stop the prop but not the motor, which may continue to run internally. Doing this will typically cause drive connection damage, may damage the propeller, and with some DPVs, can burn out the motor. After you stop it, you have a failed DPV that you tow home. A runaway scooter obviously needs servicing before you use it again. A final thought. If you can't control or stop a runaway scooter, let it go. No piece of gear is worth getting hurt over. Out-of-air emergencies illustrate why it's important for you and your buddy to stay together. The priority is providing air to the out-of-air diver, and then getting that diver to the surface. Abandon the DPVs if necessary, but if both divers remain calm, it may be reasonable to tow them to the surface. At the surface, the out-of-air diver can establish buoyancy and switch to snorkel to scooter to the exit. Deploy an inflatable signal tube when scootering on the surface if necessary, to make you visible to boaters. Now let's go through the steps you'll follow routinely diving with your DPV. You start by preparing your scooter. Install a freshly charged battery, clean the O-rings, and complete any other assembly steps required by the manufacturer. Test run it for 10 seconds or less, making sure the prop turns in the correct direction and that you don't hear any irregular noises. Be sure to keep everything clear of the prop when you do this, especially your hands and feet. Store it out of the sun until ready for use. If you're entering the water from shore, carry your DPV in a way that won't accidentally trigger it. Use the trigger lock if yours has one. Wait until you're in water deep enough to keep clear of bottom obstructions before you scooter, about chest deep when it's calm. If you need to snorkel out on the surface, slightly inflate your BCD and hold your DPV low enough that you don't draw in air from the surface. Doing so won't hurt anything, but it causes the propeller to cavitate, which is inefficient and wastes battery power. You may want to carry a larger DPV to the water, or secure it in the water, conditions permitting, before gearing up and getting in yourself. When boat diving, have someone hand you your scooter after you enter the water. Or you can suspend your DPV on a gear line and pick it up after entry. If you tether your scooter while diving from a charter boat, be sure to inform the crew so they know to check for it before motoring away from the site. When using your scooter while snorkeling, hold the DPV low below your body. This position doesn't feel as natural at the surface as it does on the bottom, but you shouldn't feel the prop wash. If you do, you're wasting power. Be sure your gear is secure so it doesn't get pulled into the prop. This is especially true with cameras that have a lot of protruding accessories. Your best bet is to secure it to a D-ring well away from the prop area. Just because you're scootering doesn't mean you don't use your fins. You can reduce battery drain by kicking to get moving, whether at the surface or underwater. It's much more comfortable to drive a DPV fully submerged. Start by clipping or straddling the tow line if your scooter has one. Adjust it so that the DPV is ahead and below you at not quite arm's length. When you're moving, tension should be on the strap, and use your arms primarily to steer. In tech diving, it's common to adjust the tow strap for one-handed operation. Whether or not you use a tow strap, keep yourself and the scooter horizontal and level with the DPV low so the prop wash flows beneath you. You shouldn't feel the wash. DPVs that attach to your cylinder obviously have the wash flowing above you. After you and your buddy scooter for a short distance, you may need to adjust your speed if possible with your model to stay together and for comfort. With higher speed DPVs, you'll want to generally face into the flow while cruising, because the water's rush may cause your mask to leak if you turn your head to the side. Although you normally just ride a DPV, you can pick up extra speed by kicking at the same time. This is a useful technique when you and a buddy have different power scooters. If the more powerful scooter is still too fast, set on its slowest setting, the diver on the less powerful scooter may be able to match the speed close enough simply by adding some leg power, though this raises air consumption. Steering a DPV is intuitive for most people, but you get more out of it by learning some technique. Make graceful banking turns by gently rolling about 30 to 40 degrees toward the desired travel direction, while lifting the DPV nose. To pivot turn, push out with one arm and pull in with the other to pivot your scooter in the desired direction. When using a tow strap, steering is a bit like steering a bicycle. You pivot the grips like you would handlebars and lean in the direction of the turn, banking and pivoting at once. Although it's best for each diver to have a DPV, tandem riding has its place. Tandem riding may be appropriate for two divers touring a wide area, but staying within a reasonable swim of the exit. And as you saw earlier, it's one option if a scooter fails. One technique is for the rider to hold on to the pilot's cylinder valve, or upper BCD. Tandem riding consumes battery power faster as it is, so the rider should minimize this by staying level and streamlined to reduce drag, tucked in cleanly behind the pilot. Alternatively, the rider can hang on to the pilot's legs just below the knees or at the ankles. Again, the rider should reduce drag by staying directly behind the pilot. Regardless of where the rider hangs on, tandem riding is much less tiring for the pilot if the DPV has a tow strap. When making a shore exit with a DPV, scooter into shallow water, following the bottom. If you ascend directly from deeper water some distance out, you may simply scooter to shallow water, snorkeling. As you did getting in, be cautious to grip your DPV so you don't accidentally trigger it, and use the lock if it has one. With larger DPVs, it's common to secure it in or just out of the water if you can. Go get out of your gear, then come back for it. When exiting into a boat, pass up your DPV or tie it to a gear line to retrieve later. If you tie it to a gear line, be sure to tell the dive master or crew so the boat doesn't accidentally take off with your scooter dragging behind. After you're out of the water, put your DPV someplace out of the sun or cover it to protect it from the sun. On a boat, secure it immediately so it won't roll about, and put it where no one will drop gear on it or fall over it. Rinse your DPV and recharge the battery as soon as possible, following the steps you learned earlier. As a PADI DPV diver, you'll quickly discover that scootering adds a lot to your underwater adventures. They let you cover a wider area, and they help you dive longer by saving air. But the main reason you'll use your DPV whenever you can is that it's a whole lot of fun. And that's reason enough.